He had these custom-made shoes, size 22 or 3. A big guy.
All my clothes come from Japan, except my boots. Just like they said, everything is big. It's come from. Thanks, sir.
The incredible journey of Andre the Giant started from humble beginnings in France and peaked as a supernova in the world of professional wrestling. Today, not only will we break down his long and legendary career in wrestling, but also highlight his memorable forays in cinema and television. We'll also move past his professional exploits to something more personal, his relationship with his daughter, Robin Christensen-Roussimoff. So, get ready to go behind the scenes and untangle one of the most intriguing stories from the world of wrestling and beyond, of a man whose impact will be felt for generations to come. Early years of life. Andre René Roussimoff, known to the world as Andre the Giant, was born on May 19, 1946, in Coulommiers, France. Andre was the son of Boris Roussimoff and Marianne Roussimoff-Stoeff, who were Bulgarian and Polish immigrants, respectively. He was raised in a home that included 2 older siblings and 2 younger ones. Andre's large physical stature was apparent early in life, as he weighed 13 pounds at birth and suffered from gigantism, making him much taller and heavier than his peers, who nicknamed him Didi, referring to his larger-than-life presence among his friends. Despite having parents of normal height, his mother stood 5 feet 2 inches. His father, 6 feet 2 inches. Andre's genetic path towards gigantism was clear. According to family lore, his grandfather stood 7 feet 8 inches tall. By the age of 12, Andre stood 6 feet 3 inches. His schoolwork, luckily, fared better. The kids quickly realized that he was not to be bullied, and the teachers knew he was bright, so they mostly left him to his work. He was particularly good at math. Andre stopped his formal schooling at 14 years old, opting not to continue his education, as he saw little need in his rural town where farm labor was expected to be his career. It is important to emphasize that Andre's withdrawal from school at 14 was not a dropout in the classic sense, given obligatory schooling in France at the time ended at that age. When he left school to help on his father's farm in Molienne, his incredible strength and unusual size allowed him to do the work of 2 or 3 men. His knack for farm labor remained with him for the rest of his working life, but the young man who mauled hay bales was destined for more than rural obscurity. After trying his hand at woodworking, he landed a job at a factory making engines for hay balers. Carpentry and engine building failed to fulfill him, and in the years to come, Andre revealed that Samuel Beckett, a Nobel Prize-winning writer, asked him and his brothers to sit and enjoy cricket with him, every so often, when they should have been off to school, in the early 1950s. After he grew famous for Waiting for Godot, Samuel Beckett moved 40 miles north from Paris to rural France, where he employed locals to build him a cottage. One such local was Boris Roussimoff, who happened to be the father of Andre the Giant. So Beckett regularly drove Andre to school. Andre recalled that they mostly discussed cricket. Their divergent backgrounds and ages didn't matter. Cricket brought them together and became an invisible bond between them. Andre's massive physical size and his need to find a purpose beyond his humble French farming village upbringing would take him away from Grenoble and transform him into one of the most celebrated men in professional wrestling history. Early wrestling career. Andre the Giant began wrestling in the early 1970s. After he arrived in Paris at 18 years of age, a local promoter named Robert Lajat trained him. He spent his days working as a mover and lifting at night. Eventually, Andre began wrestling around Paris and beyond as Jean Foray, after a legendary folk hero. His gargantuan size caught the eye of Canadian promoter Frank Valois, who would soon become the first Giants manager. From there, Andre wrestled across the world, from the United Kingdom to Australia, building the reputation that eventually brought him to Vince McMahon's Capital Wrestling Corporation. In 1970, Monster Roussimoff also debuted in Japan, and quickly, he ascended to stardom, winning the World Tag Team Championship. In the Far East, doctors diagnosed him with acromegaly, the malady that had triggered his grotesque growth. Roussimoff, who relocated to Montreal in 1971, enjoyed a meteoric rise to stardom, often selling out arenas in which he once labored on cleanup crews. As Roussimoff's foes dwindled and fickle fans began to view him with less novelty, ticket sales slumped. Nevertheless, he continued to pack them in around the globe, from a showdown with Adnan Al-Qaisi in Baghdad to a special appearance in Verne Gagne's American Wrestling Association. Reaching new heights. In the 1970s, Andre the Giant became a supernova in the wrestling world, thanks in part to the genius of Vincent McMahon. Knowing that Andre had unlimited potential, McMahon made a series of adjustments that transformed Andre into the biggest attraction in the history of pro wrestling. McMahon didn't just see a guy who could wrestle, he saw an unbeatable monster who was impervious to pain and towered over his opponents. So, he ditched those limitations and rebranded Andre as Andre the Giant, a move that changed the course of pro wrestling history. McMahon encouraged Andre to start using his size to destroy people, and he didn't need to be asked twice. Gone were the leapfrogs and drop kicks, and in their place was a gun show of power moves that became impossible to match. This deliberate approach helped craft Andre's image as an indestructible monster who could supposedly muscle any adversary with his sheer strength. By the time McMahon was done curating Andre as a character, there were fans around the globe who were mesmerized by the larger-than-life personality known as Andre. McMahon's timing was perfect, and he mapped out Andre's travel pattern in order to keep the mystique that he wouldn't be overexposed in any one region. The work paid off as Andre was still a sought-after attraction who packed buildings around the world in wrestling organizations everywhere he went. He was brought in as a special starter attraction, and the promoters went nuts scrambling for his services, knowing that just his presence meant instant box office. McMahon's sage maneuvering was instrumental in establishing Andre as a global sensation, far surpassing the traditional boundaries of wrestling territory. Andre made his dramatic debut with the Worldwide Wrestling Federation on March 24, 1973, at a house show in which he entered the WWF in awe-inspiring fashion, shocking fans with his sheer charisma as he triumphed in a handicap match in Philadelphia, displaying untold power and agility. Just 2 nights later at New York City's historic Madison Square Garden, Andre flourished in his WWF debut, manhandling Buddy Wolf. That Andre was an exceptionally talented wrestler was clear to anyone who witnessed his early triumphs, which quickly cemented his status as a fan favorite. Andre the Giant was one of the most beloved and successful professional wrestling heroes of the 1970s and early 1980s. Wrestling commentator Gorilla Monsoon often mentioned Andre's unbeaten in 15 years in the days leading up to WrestleMania 3, and he emphasized the via pinfall or submission portion of that claim. In effect, Andre's storyline undefeated streak was more than a decade longer than that of Joe DiMaggio, and it endeared him to the hearts of moviegoers the world over. Interestingly, however, Andre's journey was not without obstacles. During his illustrious tenure with the WWF, Andre would regularly find himself pitted against tremendous adversaries and forced to combat against the odds. Whether it was during the unforgettable skirmishes of his fabled 1980 feud with Hulk Hogan or in his riveting battles against the Mongolian giant Killer Khan, Andre the Giant's earliest WWF exploits bore ample testimony to the unparalleled talent, charisma, and presence of the man that would change wrestling forever. Andre's groundbreaking debut with the then Worldwide Wrestling Federation, as well as his epic struggles against the top names of the sport, had a profound impact on the world of professional wrestling and would forever be etched in the annals of sports entertainment history. World Wrestling Federation and feud with the Heenan family. In 1982, Vince McMahon Jr. assumed control of the Worldwide Wrestling Federation and wanted the federation's wrestlers to work exclusively for him, while he expanded his organization countrywide. Andre the Giant, however, continued to wrestle for New Japan Pro Wrestling in Japan. Andre's greatest feud, meanwhile, was with Big John Studd. Eager to finally determine who was the true giant of wrestling, they crisscrossed the globe. The rivalry escalated in 1984 when Studd and his tag team partner Ken Patera used a cheap shot to knock Andre out in a fight and then cut his hair on television. Seeking revenge, Andre had a showdown with Studd during a body slam challenge at WrestleMania 1 in 1985. Andre won by tossing Stud out and picking up the $15,000, which he then tossed to fans before Stud's manager Bobby "The Brain" Heenan stole it. Andre would again demonstrate his dominance at WrestleMania 2 in 1986, when he won a 20-man battle royal, lastly eliminating Bret Hart. Andre was suffering from the acromegaly that came from his size, and as such his health was failing. Andre worked for WWF full-time after touring with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and finally his big feud with Stud and King Kong Bundy as well. Andre was in bad shape, recalled Rob Reiner, the film's director. He wanted to take off to get healthy to make Princess Bride. To explain Andre's absence, Heenan cooked up a tale of Andre being scared to battle Stud and Bundy and suspended Andre after he did show a match. When Andre returned, he wrestled in a mask as the Giant Machine with the Machines group, as the fans recognized him and the announcers pretended they didn't. And Heenan, Stud, and Bundy tried to prove that the Giant Machine was Andre, but he outsmarted them at every turn. Andre reappeared unmasked after the Giant Machine disappeared at the end of 1986, when he abandoned his old friends, which led to a dramatic change in his character. Alliance with Bobby Heenan and Ted DiBiase. Andre the Giant shocked the wrestling world by turning heel to challenge wrestling's biggest hero in early 1987. It all started with an edition of Piper's Pit, where Hogan was honored for his 3-year reign as WWF World Heavyweight Champion. Andre came out to congratulate him, and his handshake seemed to take even the Hulkster by surprise. The following week, he was given a huge trophy by the WWF for being the only undefeated wrestler in wrestling history, despite a couple of countouts and disqualification losses, Hogan recalled. Baba opened with accolades, but Andre looked upset and stormed away as soon as Hogan began to speak. The two fought it out that week, and Andre was soon joined by his longtime archenemy, Bobby Heenan. Heenan claimed Hogan had become friends with Andre in order to avoid defending his title against him, but when Hogan tried to reason with him, Andre challenged him to a match for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 3. As Andre continued his torment, a baffled Hogan pleaded, leading to Andre ripping Hogan's shirt and crucifix from his neck rather than taking Hogan's hand. In the ensuing brawl, each man ended up bleeding, and their conflict heated up with a 20-man battle royal on Saturday night's Main Event X, in which Andre established a psychological advantage when he sent Hogan over the top rope in anticipation of their historic collision at WrestleMania 3, where Andre, billed at 520 pounds, squared off with Hogan before a record crowd. Although Andre dwarfed Hogan and had recently undergone back surgery, he was able to be body-slammed by Hogan and would go on to lose the huge match. The idea that no one knew until the day of the Friday night tournament in which Andre would lose the match was disproved. Andre had agreed to lose the match due to some health concerns. Their rivalry would continue during the summer of 1987, but boiled over at the very first Survivor Series event. Hogan was well on his way to defeating Andre when he was jumped by his partners, King Kong Bundy and One Man Gang. Andre went on to win the match when he pinned Bam Bam Bigelow and attempted to injure Hogan. Another match ensued when Andre returned for the 4th time in December 1987. However, he remained focused on Hogan. When the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase couldn't as well overcome Hogan, he arranged to have Andre take the WWF World Heavyweight Championship from Hogan. The rematch was aired by the Main Event, in which Andre won with a recalcitrant official's assistance and sold the belt to DiBiase, resulting in a disputed match at WrestleMania 4 and a steel cage match at WrestleFest, where Hogan emerged as the victor. Their feud concluded at the inaugural SummerSlam, in which Andre and DiBiase faced Hogan and Randy Savage in the main event. Despite a cheating intervention from Miss Elizabeth, Hogan and Savage triumphed, and the two iconic wrestlers' status was sealed. Andre, meanwhile, continued to feud with Jim Duggan and Jake Roberts, with the Snake throwing his pet python into the ring and Andre revealing his fear of snakes. Despite his ever-worsening health, he remained some opponent, dominating in the ring until he retired in 1991. Making new connections. In late 1989, Andre the Giant was made part of a new tag team with Haku, another member of the Heenan family. This was done to fill the void left when the Brainbusters, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, left the WWF. It was also designed to keep Andre in the spotlight despite his deteriorating health. Their first targets were the new WWF Tag Team Champions Demolition, who had just taken the belts from the Brainbusters. The Colossal Connection won the titles from Demolition during a televised taping in December 1989, and Andre and Haku retained their championships against Demolition until WrestleMania 6 in April 1990. Bobby Heenan, their manager, attributed the loss to Andre Giant and hit him in retribution afterwards. As revenge for Heenan's treachery, Andre smacked the boss right back and was sent out of the ring. Staggering Andre also thwarted Haku's maneuvers, turning his face for the first time since 1987. Andre the Giant was not able to participate in WrestleMania 6 due to ill health, leaving Haku all on his lonesome as he faced Demolition. Andre and Haku collided following a contest with Demolition in Honolulu, putting an abrupt stop to the Colossal Connection. Andre's last WWF match was in Tokyo, Japan, 1990, when he defeated Demolition along with his partner Giant Baba in a non-title bout. His health was not good until he died, but as a great hero of both WE and professional wrestling, it is fitting that he had a heritage. His partnership with Haku in the Colossal Connections also recorded another page in his distinguished career, revealing his adaptability and ability to continue competing at the very highest level into the advanced old age of his wrestling career. Returning to wrestling again. In the winter of 1990, Andre the Giant surprised Herb Abrams's Universal Wrestling Federation with an interview in Reseda, California. He had appeared alongside Captain Lou Albano, who was representing the UWF, and everybody wishing to fight again. The World Wrestling Federation announced Andre's return to the Royal Rumble, but due to a leg injury, he would have to forfeit. On March 17, 1991, he made his on-air return with the WWF's Superstars and Stripes Forever USA Network special. He walked out to shake Big Boss Man's hand following an altercation with Mr. Perfect. Andre made his first in-ring appearance since his return at WrestleMania 7, assisting the Boss Man in his match against Mr. Perfect. Thus, on April 26, 1991, Andre joined the Rockers in a six-man tag team battle against Mr. Fuji and the Orient Express in a house show in Belfast, Northern Ireland. They won, proving that Andre still had what it took to win in the ring. Andre, in a 17-man battle royal at an event in Detroit, turned out to be Andre's final match for the WWF, but of course, his story continued in various other storylines down the road. After WrestleMania 7, Andre was the focus of a major storyline which had every heel manager in the company: Bobby Heenan, Sensational Sherry, Slick, and Mr. Fuji, trying to recruit him. All four suffered humiliating rejections. As a result, Jimmy Hart made a live call on the WWF Superstars broadcast, saying that Andre had been signed to team with Earthquake. However, Andre denied the accusation, and Earthquake attacked from behind, injuring his knee. Jimmy Hart planned further revenge by signing Tugboat on the QT and founding the Natural Disasters. At SummerSlam 1991, Andre made his final notable WWF appearance. He took the Bushwhackers as his partners to face the Disasters, and with one leg bound in a splint, Andre can be seen at ringside. Andre is still there when the Disasters beat up on him. However, he fights back with some assistance from Domo de Elaine, turning around an attack and saving his life. The last time he appeared in the WWF was in Paris, France, at a house event on October 9, 1991. All Japan Pro Wrestling, Universal Wrestling Association. Between 1990 and 1992, Andre went down in history touring with Giant Baba under AJPW 3 times a year. He also made guest appearances with Luke, sometimes teaming up for tag team matches. During those same years, he fought alongside Giant Baba in tag team matches. Besides making occasional guest appearances for Herb Abrams' Rebel Wrestling Federation, for which he again fought as Andre the Giant, and came up against Big John Studd, he never competed in the promotion either. During World Championship Wrestling's Clash of the Champions Ecotex event, Andre had a short interview and made his last U.S. appearance on television at this time. During the same event, he came out for the TBS gala with Gordon Solie and exchanged several sentences. His final trip to Mexico consisted of 6-man tag battles with Bam Bam Bigelow and other lucha libre luminaries. Andre's final tour with AJPW was from October to December 1992, with his last match in December, winning against Haruka Eigen, Masanobu Fuchi, and Matoshi Okuma with Giant Baba and Rusher Kimura. Personal life and hobbies. People knew the wrestler Roussimoff as Andre the Giant, too well known to be overlooked. He was even in the Guinness Book of World Records in 1974. Roussimoff's annual profits were as high as $400,000, or at least what would be worth over $2 million in today's money. Turning to his personal life, he had one daughter called Robin Christensen. Her mother, Jean, began dating Andre when they met wrestling back in the early 70s. Robin saw her father alive only 5 times, and yet when he died began to develop a very favorable impression of the man. She has become like a keeper of memories for him. In 1989, he fought with a TV cameraman during a match in Iowa, although he was eventually punished and had to pay for the damage he caused. Andre, despite his great size and seeming rough exterior, was exceedingly polite. Andre, without a doubt, was one of the sweetest people I have ever known in my life, and that's saying something. William Goldman, the author of The Princess Bride, wrote, "A comical story involves him, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Wilt Chamberlain going out to lunch. Schwarzenegger tried to pay the bill, but Andre and Chamberlain almost picked him up and put him in his car. At his North Carolina ranch, due to his leisurely pastime when he wasn't wrestling, he let some friends look after it. He enjoyed basking contentedly there, taking care of the animals and playing with his dogs. He often entertained guests from around the country. At home, they say he had some things specially made larger to accommodate his size, but not everything. Since he can't go shopping easily, he spends hours watching QVC and buying things from them." The Worsening Health. Let's take a look at his health and his famous drinking habits. One of the things that Andre is most strongly associated with could be his tremendous capacity for alcohol. The folklore of Andre the Giant drinking beer is immense. It has been recounted how he could down 119 beers in 6 hours, or even manage to consume 156 push bottles of beer in a single sitting. His marvelous drinking earned him the unofficial nickname, Earth's Greatest Drunk. Despite his strength of body, Andre's heavy drinking and the result it had on his health with diabetes. Eventually, he stopped drinking beer altogether because it was taking such a toll on his health. He made the decision, experienced regrets after feeling ill from drinking, and even passed out on a visit to the David Letterman show. His huge size and formidable alcohol tolerance meant that he was incapable of judging how intoxicated he had become, and fear was now creeping into his head concerning what would eventually happen to such a binger. In addition to his drinking habits, Andre had, yet there were other health concerns. He had a severe pericardial effusion. This condition is characterized by excess fluid collecting around the heart. This meant that he needed medical treatment, which included pericardiocentesis, a procedure that removes fluid. During treatment for medical problems such as surgery, his size also posed special challenges. Because of his bulk, the old method of estimating the dose for administering anesthesia could not be accurately applied. In one operation, doctors had to gauge the amount of anesthesia on the basis of his alcohol tolerance. Still loved by fans today despite his unkind fate, Andre the Giant remains largely consistent with popular culture's continuing need for large cartoons. But his name is constantly associated with fights outside of wrestling. At heart, he truly epitomizes all heavyweights who have ever gone into entertainment history. The sudden death. At the age of 46, Andre the Giant's life ended with a heart attack while he slept. In addition, it was brought on by congestive heart failure. This tragic occurrence took place at 7 in the morning on January 28th in a hotel in Paris, where he was staying. The night before, he had gone out playing cards with some friends and returned to his hotel room around midnight. The next afternoon, he was found dead in his room by hotel staff and his chauffeur. In fact, Andre was in Paris to attend his father's funeral and stayed at his mother's request to help her celebrate her birthday. His last day was spent visiting friends and playing cards as usual in Moline, simply more fulfilled than ever before during time with loved ones. In his will, Andre made it clear that he wanted to be cremated. His family in France initially planned to bury him near his father, but when they learned of his wish, they flew his body to the United States for cremation. His ashes were then scattered at his ranch in Ellerbay, North Carolina, where he loved spending time with his animals and friends. Andre also made sure to take care of his daughter Robin in his will. He left his entire estate to her, ensuring she was taken care of after he was gone. His legacy. Even after his death, Andre the Giant's legacy continues to be larger than life. He became the first inductee into the WWF Hall of Fame, demonstrating his unequaled influence in the wrestling world. His famous appearance inspired the film My Giant, written by his buddy Billy Crystal, which brought Andre's unusual charm and personality to a larger audience. Furthermore, his physical resemblance and wrestling prowess led to the wrestler Big Show portraying his son during his WCW career. Despite his premature death, Andre's narrative continues to attract viewers across multiple platforms. Documentaries like Andre the Giant Larger Than Life explore his early life, wrestling career, and personal difficulties with acromegaly, giving insight into the man behind the myth. Similarly, graphic novels such as Andre the Giant, The Life and Legend provide a thorough account of his life, based on interviews with his peers and acquaintances. Andre's influence stretches beyond entertainment and into popular culture. The legendary Obey brand arose from artist Shepard Fairey's posters showcasing Andre's visage, which represented his larger-than-life personality. Furthermore, Andre-inspired characters like Hugo from the Street Fighter series helped to perpetuate his fame in the game world. Andre's legacy carries on in the wrestling industry, where the annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal takes place during WrestleMania. Wrestlers compete for the coveted Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy, which honors the legendary figure who paved the way for future generations. Andre's influence extends far beyond the wrestling arena, leaving an unforgettable stamp on pop culture for future generations. His story highlights the enduring power of charisma, courage, and resilience. Robin, his daughter, and their relationship. Lately, she has avoided the public eye and led a private life, living quietly without making much noise. However, it doesn't mean that she's idle. She revealed recently that she is also serving as a consultant on an upcoming film about her father's life and legacy. This biography is still in the works, but it can be seen as a tribute to Andre the Giant's remarkable journey. The film is still untitled, and no release date has been given. When she was young, Robin wouldn't reveal anything from her life, but every now and then she talks about how the old man, Andre, relates to humble origins. Looking back, Robin says she has only ever met him on 5 occasions due to his busy schedule as a wrestler. While driving along the road of renouncing Arne's profession and choosing a different one for his own family, Robin remembers lost opportunities to have deep communication with her father, and the sorrow she feels for things that never happened but are now out of reach. Andre himself lamented how little chance there was for a closer relationship between himself and his daughter, telling friends about his sadness over the small amount of time they spent together. Despite his renown, Andre was plagued by the agony of an estranged relationship with her, made worse when arguments between her and their mother intimidated him. Robin's journey has been one of striving to carve out her own path in spite of being overshadowed by the stars of her father. In 2013, Robin tried her hand at professional wrestling. Later, she entered into acting, and yet she failed to distinguish herself as an outstanding figure in either field. Nonetheless, she is determined to become a person in her own right, influenced by her father's pride at his renowned part in The Princess Bride. Robin has set new goals. While her wrestling and acting careers were not as successful as her father's, her stubborn insistence on living life as she sees fit is itself a mark of strength. Robin's continuing search for fulfillment and accomplishments is the greatest reminder of Andre the Giant's immortality. One of the most important aspects of Robin's life is her role in the making of a movie about her father. As a consultant on the film, she provides a personal viewpoint to the project, ensuring that her father's tale is told accurately and compassionately. While information regarding the biopic is scant, Robin's involvement demonstrates her dedication to honoring her father's memory and legacy. Despite her best efforts to stay out of the spotlight, Robin's link to Andre the Giant ultimately attracts attention. Fans and followers of the wrestling icon want to know more about his personal life, particularly his bond with his daughter. While she does not desire fame or glory, her efforts to preserve her father's legacy are vital. Andre the Giant's legacy in wrestling and popular culture goes on thanks to her efforts, ensuring that his memory is preserved for future generations. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.